I have a purring cat in my lap, which she will depart shortly. As soon as I'm talking and not talking to her directly. Yeah, but she thinks I'm talking to her all the time. She's like, there's no one else here. There's no one else but me. He has to be talking to me. All right, let's make sure we're booted up and all is good. Rumble kind of takes its sweet, sweet time. There we go. I just pause it. Okay. Today, I'm not going to implement a new feature today. I think we have a new public release coming Friday, and I try to have those as stable as possible, believe it or not. So introducing a whole new machine or something like that is probably not the best idea, because it'll have minimal time to be tested. Not that really anybody tests it in the first place, but I'm sure there's somebody out there that tests it. But let me check really quick to see if there's any issues. I don't think there is. I haven't gotten any messages on it. Okay, so nobody's posted issue. Unfortunately, the issue tracker on GitHub is by far the best way to do that. If you run into a bug or a problem, that issue tracker is really nice, because I can automatically, when I fix it, I can automatically close it with a commit to GitHub. It's really, really nice. So today I want to basically just crush some bugs. I know of two big ones that are doozies. I mean, they're pretty gnarly bugs, and I have no idea how to approach a fix. That's why I was kind of looking at this here. I was seeing because it's both bugs. I think I know one for sure, and one is a maybe. Have to do with chunk loading. And when you load a game and the chunks are loading into memory, and for some reason, when a chunk is loaded, it immediately starts ticking. Right? It doesn't wait for the game to be settled to start ticking all the chunks. So everything starts running right away, whether or not it's fully loaded. And if I look up mechanical network and mechanical, there is a function, if I remember right, there's a function in here, test fully loaded. Okay, so what I hate about these calls, and these are remember, this is vanilla code, right? So api.world.blockAccessor.get chunk xyz does not or equals null, return false. This get chunk actually returns the chunk. All of the data on the chunk gets returned, and all we do is check whether it's null. I really don't like calls like that. And I don't think there's a base game way to avoid it right now, but I think that there could be an efficiency had on the block accessor of is chunk loaded, rather than returning the entire chunk where we just compare it to null, right? We don't care what the chunk is. We just want to see if it's null or not. So is chunk loaded, right? Or is chunk active? I don't care what you call it, but have it check the position and see if it's actually one of the chunks that's loaded actively in memory. However that is done. I haven't drilled into the really meat of the game and how it's how it manages chunks in and out. I'm sure that is a black hole abyss of code that I just don't want to deal with right now. But, you know, to test fully loaded for the mechanical network, you're literally getting the chunk of every block position in the chunks that the network is in. So the network manages to track, right, a list, or I guess it's a dictionary, vector3i and int. So it's looking like, I don't know what the int is for. Maybe like the number of things, or maybe it's the network ID. I don't know. I don't know what the int is, but so the vector3i might be, maybe it's it might be the number of blocks in that chunk. So if the vector3i exists, it just increments int. And it's like, oh, there's 2 things, 3 things, 4 things, 5 things, and it just kind of manages that. But it iterates through all of the chunk positions, which is the keys, the vector3i. So it's running this quite a bit. So one of the problems, so this is mechanical power, test fully loaded, used by, mechanical power mod, test fully loaded. This dot fully loaded, test fully loaded. So one of the problems is the pipe network, when the chunks are loading, there's an issue with the pipe network where it starts to tick. And depending on the order of the chunks loading, it either works, doesn't work, or completely breaks altogether. So, and anything dealing with networks, this is why this is so hard to debug. Anything dealing with networks, it changes as you're playing, and it's really, really hard to debug because a lot of the data is going on behind the scenes, and it's hard to drill into in terms of like what to actually look at. There's a good case to be made for like a debug tool, like a probe, where you could right click on a pipe and it would pull that network ID and it would pull all the relevant data out of that and allow you to look at some of that underlying information in some sort of GUI somehow. But the GUI in the game doesn't really lend itself to like major like tree views and stuff, just because it's a pretty rudimentary GUI, and it has a limited amount of things that we can do. But let's see. So what we could do, the whole point of the pipe network though is it doesn't have to be fully loaded to tick, right? If you have a stretch of 100 pipe and on one end you have an extract, on the other end you have an insert, the chunks in the middle don't necessarily have to be loaded. Because the extraction node, all it cares about are all the insertion nodes. So, like, So let's make sure the directory is good to go. Programming, vintage engineering, mod. Yeah, that was my weekly build last week, so I don't want that in there. And then we will go project properties package 2.8 is this week's. So if I hit F5, and there is a bug that Zolkin pointed out, I think it's similar. I don't know exactly, but I think it's similar with the electrical system. So if we could track that down, and figure out what's happening and why, and maybe how to fix it. I could put a bug bounty out there. I do have a couple keys to a game called Delver that I've not given out yet. That's, been years in the making, but anyway, here we have the charger. I do have the Angel Belt now, chargeable. So you can see it's actually using charge when it's on. So, yeah. I can easily do that for the magnet too. The magnet though, I don't know, that might be... I might have to do that with a... I might have to take durability only when it like pulls things in, because if it's taking durability constantly, oh man, it wouldn't last very long. But take durability for every like X number of things that it pulls in. I mean, you could set it to like 10,000 durability and just everything that it pulls in. But the problem with that is, because the game has a hard-coded limit of how many things your actual player can absorb, right, and pick up off the ground, that's just why there's a limit on that magnet to how many things it pulls in, because it's matching that. So as it's pulling them in, your player is picking them up. If I pull in faster, you're going to have a pile of stuff under you. And as you walk, right, it's going to drag that stuff along and use even more durability. So that is a problem with that. Okay, so the bug, let me empty that out. We are on a chunk border right here. This is why this is right here. This is a chunk border. Let me move this pad out of the way. I need access to my keyboard here. Let's see. No, that's not it. There it is. I have too many post-it notes around here, everybody. .debug wireframe chunk. Yay. Okay, so there is the chunk boundary between these two blocks right here, right? This is the chunk boundary. And I believe that this chunk is loaded and then this chunk is loaded. It as far as debugging goes, it doesn't really matter. But if we build that, and I really don't need this to be this long, but, and if we did that. That's got 0. Let's empty this and drop in that. Okay, so if we smack this with a wrench there and smack this one with a wrench there, they are both filling up, right? Now, let's save and leave. And then go back into it. Now this one, not running. This one is running. Okay. But if we break this pipe, it's still running. So, like, so you can see this shows 0 inserts. This is why I left all that debug stuff in there. This shows no inserts, and yet it's inserting. If we take this off, that finally stops. So the creation of the extraction node. Hey Joe, how's it going? Yeah, these all have the same ID. These all have the same ID. So let's debug this one first, right? This use case first. So in order to debug in order to debug a network, you want to minimize the amount of those networks in the world, right? So I want to make sure I don't have any pipes anywhere around here. And then what I want to do is remove that one, right? So basically the only pipe that should be ticking, right, is this one. Actually, it's going to only be this. Okay. So first thing we want to do is set that to an extract. This starts filling. We save and leave. This is debugging in a game is very different than debugging like a piece of software you make in the office or a company that you work for. Like if you have a software that's used for, you know, processing invoices or whatever, this is much more involved than that. So where do we put this? I don't even know what we look at. Pipe network. And then fluid pipe handler. And then where's the block entity? Pipe base. And I want this on block broken. Really? This is what? No, this can't be all I do on a block broken. No way. Where's my block base? There we go. On pipe block broken. I was like, no way does that just the block entity do that. Um pipe cons is 2. Well, at least you know, that's a little victory. At least it detected that there's 2 pipe connections. So pipe cons good. Pipe cons equals 1 good. Now I need to split network at. Okay, I need to F11 into this. So I passed it in the block position that was being broken. Now I'm grabbing the block entity at that location. I'm grabbing the block, the pipe block at that location. Neither of these should be null because I know that that is a pipe block. So if those are null, then something really bad happened. Network ID is 159. Connection sides of F. If connection sides of F is true, connected pipes dot add position connected pipes. Okay, I'm looking at so this is looking at all 6 sides. If the side has a connection face or a connection side, like a pipe connection, then add it to the connected pipes. And then override that face to remove the connection. Connection side of F is true. So that gets that. Okay. So connection side of F now should be false. And then this one, and then this one should be true. And then we're overriding that one. Okay. It's funny, code I just wrote, a month or two ago. I'm just having to be like, all right. So what this does is gather. It takes the block we're breaking, and it looks at all of the sides, and it's going, all right, on all of the sides, what are the pipes connecting to me? If there's a connection, I add it to the list, and then I override that face in the block that we're breaking. I override that face to forcefully disconnect it. Okay, I'm forcefully disconnecting it. Because I don't want, when I iterate through the network, I don't want to then have this infinite loop that just constantly loops around itself. So the pipe networks of the ID, I'm going to remove the pipe from this ID, right? Now I'm going through and saying, hey, connected pipes. Now I'm going to say, get connected pipes. I bet you the bug is in this call, right? First connection, let's block first con. So first position, I really wish there was an easy way to translate that into an actual freaking position in the world, because it's not easy to do. I don't know what the offset is. It's not exactly 50,000, I don't think. Like 50K, 134, 50K. I don't think it's that. So position.copy first position. Okay. So there's two connections or two pipes on one side of this, which makes sense because I think this would have been on the left of the break, or maybe on the right. Either one, right? Either one of those, probably on the right because north is always first. So this is like on the north side. So there's two pipes there. X equals 0. Connected pipes dot count. So we remove the first position. I don't know why I do the first. Oh no, okay, I know why. I grab the first connection and then I have to iterate through and remove each of those positions from the network. The get connected pipes iterates through them. So the connection ID should be 159. Yeah. First con that contains a new network, get connected pipes on the other side, right? So this should be, I don't know, 3 or 4. 3. 400, 401, 402. Whereas first connection, 398, 397. So we obviously broke 399, 97, 98, 99, and then 401, right? So that actually worked. Create network, new network ID 164, pipe networks of new ID dot add pipes world dot new net. So let's check this. Pipe networks. There should not be 3 networks in there. That's for sure. I might need to... There is a undocumented debug method with this pipe system. If there's a dangling network somewhere, there should only be 2 networks in here, 159 and 164. I don't know what this 152 is. I already looked at all the pipes in the base, and there's only one run of pipes. So that is a problem. So that adds the pipes, new ID, mark network dirty. This is a expensive call that should only be run if you know what's going on. So pipe networks is basically rebuilt, or the new ID, and then the pipe networks of the old ID, we remove the new network. So pipe networks of 159, pipe block positions as 5. This should remove it down to 2. Yes, indeed. And then I need to look at the fluid handler. Okay. My guess... Yeah, look at the delta time. Us. We're at 164. Num extraction is 1. Num insertion is 0. So connected to, this is a chunk loaded. Oh, there is a, no, I wrote that. Is chunk loaded? That's my call. This is the extraction node sitting on the right. And so when we do pull is not null, but a push slot, we're getting way further into this tree if we don't have any insertion nodes. I don't really care about all of this. This is what I'm looking at. Push connections. This should not be us dot push. Let's look at us. Num insertion connections is 0. And yet, push connections equals 1. Pause that. So, maybe push connections isn't being edited like it should when we remove let's see, pipe network manager, pipe LAPOC and spit network at. Okay. First connection. Connected pipes dot remove. First connection. Pipe network is of new ID. Mark network dirty. Pipe network is a split ID dot remove pipes. Okay. This. Let's go to this. So we're removing... okay. We're removing the pipes. But we're not... we're not reinitializing all the variables. We need to mark this dirty as well. Right? So, yeah, see, mark network dirty, it's a little function, but it is very, very expensive because it iterates every block position quite literally twice. And it's just like it just rebuilds everything. Number extraction, number insertion, so I think what we need to do, getting back to this, is after we remove the pipes, right? Pipe networks of split ID dot mark network dirty world. Update other side of network split. Now I might want to actually do that out here, because this loop is iterating through. Let's say you had a pipe that had all 6 sides connected to a network, right? All 6 sides. There's new networks branching, or basically pipes going all 6 directions, and you broke that one in the middle. Now all 6, right, are having to be split off individually, but the original first network that you create, which it always looks north first. So the north connection is going to be the original, the one that's basically taking. Well, we need to remove all 6 other networks off the original. And that is done in this loop. It's looping through them, and the blocks that are contained in each offshoot, northeast, southwest, up, down, each offshoot is getting removed from the network. Well, I don't want to mark it dirty every time it does that. I want to mark it dirty after it's done completely. Marking this one dirty, this is the new network, right? So when it splits a network off, you know, the north side is the original, and then it looks east. It's gonna spider through all of those blocks and go, all right, here's this network. You know, set this network up, do it, boom, mark it dirty, and then go, and then south, and then east. But it also removes all of those blocks from the original network. And then it does the south and removes all those blocks from the original network. I want to make sure all of that is done, and then update the original network, right? That way, this function call here is not as expensive because we're iterating through much fewer positions. Many of the fewer positions here. But I think this here is num insertion, blah blah blah, rebuild push connections. Yeah. And if we actually go into this push connections, yeah. So we're clearing the connections. All right. So we should be able to now, let's hot reload it. Pipe network manager. No, I want transport handler. Well, let's not do that yet. Let's go back in here. This is running. And let's break this. Damn it! Num insertion connections 0. Push connections 1. Okay, let's look at pipe base. Actually, first, let's... And then exit. Not exit, but... This pauses the game, right? It's paused, so it stops ticking. Letting me do whatever I need to do in here. Okay, so push connections in the block entity pipe base. Pretty sure this is just a call to push connections, which fluid handler, item handler, that's fine. But what actually... Okay. Find all references. Rebuild push connections. Okay. Push connections.add. So let's put a breakpoint there. And then, let's see, 159, everybody's the same ID. On pipe broken. Now we should go to rebuild push connections. All right, let's look. Oh, God. Pipe network dot length. Really? What? There's 3 block positions. One, 2. 1, 2, 3. All right. Pipe network. Pipe network is an array of block positions. Length is 1. What the hell is going on here? Jesus. That's so annoying when it does that. Stop doing that. Um, new net. Three. Create network. New net. Add pipes. Network ID. Mark pipe dirty. Or mark network dirty. What? Why did I jump? Maybe I should remove the pipes and then mark it? I don't know. Networks of split ID. Dot mark network dirty. So let's go in here, right? Insert, extract. Right? Now, this is the 3 blocks with the extraction node. So it should have 1 extraction node. It should find 1 extraction node and 0 insertion node. That's what it should find. Pipe block positions, I guess, is only 2. So maybe it's on the other side. Maybe it's the insertion node and not the extraction node. Get chunk is fine. Block position is good. Num insertion connections. Num extraction connections. And let's go to the next one. Num extraction, num extraction. Oh, there was an insertion? Damn it. I guess there was an insertion. Why was there an insertion? This is where the block positions. This is why I want. Where is the offset for the block positions? Because it is damn near impossible to figure out what block it's actually looking at, because the internal block positions are not what you see in the GUI. And that's my number one complaint with trying to debug this game, is the block positions do not match. And it is very hard to figure out which position it's actually looking at, because I would on paper write down every block position and figure out which ones have insertions, which ones have extractions, and I would be able to follow that and figure out what it's actually looking at. But the fact that it literally iterated through 2 positions tells me it's on the insertion side, right? There's 0 extraction positions. What in the hell just happened? What? Did I enter the sun? There must have been a supernova, because damn. Why, when we rebuild I want to remove any breakpoints I have. Okay, let's do this. Mark network dirty. 6 block positions. What? Why is the pipe network 1 block? Where was that call from? Rebuild push connect. I think that was in the network. Insert position dot to array. Wait a second. What is this expecting? Block position array of all of the pipes in this network that have an insert connection. What? Do I actually treat it like that? For each block position in pipe network, get block entity, push connections dot add. Okay. Now, this is still going, of course. So, if I break it, we're going to have 2 on one side, 3 on the other. If I break, I think it's this one. It's going to have this one and this one. Unpipe broken. That I don't need a breakpoint on. I do need a breakpoint on this though. Mark network dirty. So what is network ID? 168. So this is the new network. The 3 blocks. So this has the extraction connection. Right? This has the extraction connection. Get chunk and position. That's fine. There's the thing. Num insertion. There's... Oh, num extractions are 0 and 0. Okay. This must be going backwards along the line. Num insertion, num extraction. And then this one, hopefully... Num insertion. Oh. Oh, there it is. I guess I had to run this function here first. So there's the extraction position. Bingo. Okay. So there's the extraction. Now it's gonna say, hey, there's no insertion positions. So let's go into here. Pipe network does not equal null, and pipe network dot length is greater than 0. I now see why. Okay, this is the bug right here. At least this bug. It's not the bug, like the bug to end all bugs. It is a bug. If somebody can tell me, right? Any of y'all, and hey Kyubi, how's it going? You know, should be fairly obvious, but you know, any logical thinkers out there, essentially, if I was basically splitting exactly what I was doing, if I was splitting the insertion node off of the network, the only insertion node, this would be skipped. I would not reset the connections. I would not reset it. I'm sending in an empty array, but this call here, right? This call here, I shouldn't be detecting the length. All I should be doing is saying, hey, if it's not null. And then if I go into here, it's going to find it. It's going to clear it. And then this should just not do anything because there's literally nothing in pipe network. There's no entries in pipe network. It just skips that. Now we're going into here. Push connections does not equal null. That's good. Push connections dot count is greater than 1. Push connections is 0, so obviously sorting it is not ideal. And then mark it dirty because we need to send it back to the and that should stop that. Okay, so test this again. Build. God damn. Filling. Let's remove that. Filling. Break. Not filling. And then build. Pushes 1. Okay. Break. No pushes. Pushes isn't even in there. Right? I should put pushes 0 in there just for funsies and ease of reading, but I'm gonna need to go to bed. I literally have the days set to like 10 hours in this world, and I finally have a day ending. Yeah, that debug thing when I woke up and I was literally inside the sun. That was really weird. Okay, so that fixes that crazy bug. This is bug hunting, everybody. This is why adding a feature is way faster than, ironing out all the bugs of a feature, because that took me an hour just to track down one bug. Okay, now let's see if it fixed the other bug. Okay, so the other bug right? So let's look at this. Not filling. Doing that, and now it's filling. Let's save and leave. Give it a hot second to sort of clean up memory, and hop back in. Now, what the bug is now with the direction of the chunk loading, the bug was it's not filling this. Right? You can see it's not filling this. And if we look at this, there's no pushes. There's no pushes. So this is a bug because this has got an extraction, and because there's no hashtag pushes up there, that tells me the insert node push is not, it's not taking it. Now, if I want to forcefully verify this, there is a little thing. If I shift right click the upgrade, it will validate all the networks. Okay? And doesn't actually fix the bug, but it should validate. It should have validated all the networks and gotten rid of any and all bad ones. So that dangling network that existed should be gone. Now, what do we do? Because I can guarantee you it is the initialization, right, of this. Now, if I break this, this is 172, this is 171. This should not be filling. Good. This is just kind of dangling. No pushes seen. Now, if I rebuild it, this should see it and start filling it. So, all of this means to me that when I initialize the network, when I initialize the block, so BE pipe base, and then we look at initialize somewhere in here. Initialize. This is called, after it was spawned in, after you like place the block, or when it's loaded in from a chunk. And that right there is what I'm talking about. So if we look at Pipe networks. I believe I saved these. Oh, I hear litter box noises. Frantically scraping in there. Somebody pooped. Initialize network manager, deserialize, yeah. So I'm pulling the bytes, network bytes, serializing all the networks and then pushing them in. And the pipes, I mean, the networks are just network and long. I wonder, the mechanical network system, it does not save the network. It rebuilds the network every time you load the game. And when a block of the network loads, it actually tries to join the network. Right? So we have a join in here to the network, and it checks like the chunk, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and it adds, right? It adds itself into the chunk position. It says, oh, there's another block in this chunk position. And try get value, out value is Q. Okay, so it's trying to get, okay. That's weird. Try get value. So I think it's basically a null check where if it doesn't exist, it returns a 0 or something like that. Maybe it initialize it. Oh, yeah, I heard the litter box noises. Yeah, I did. Somebody pooped. Yeah. Got the engine purring. Okay, so yeah, as the game loads like a mechanical network block, I do believe it saves a ID with it. Right? So the ID is saved. But the network itself is not saved to disk. It just rebuilds it as it loads in. Oh, I like this. Maybe null when. I love that. Jesus. Yeah. Leave, join. Not 100% sure what the best way of tackling this. Basically, what I don't want to do is rebuild. I don't want to mark the network dirty every time a block like an extraction node loads in. That would be a bad idea. What is essentially happening, because the extraction node loads before the insertion node, Oh, the purrs are real. Microphone is not able to pick it up, but I can tell you it's very adorable. So if the extraction nodes of X initialize, we grab the pipe network manager. Yeah, see here is we rebuild push connection. Now, remember, this is called before that other chunk with the insertion is actually loaded. So we grab the network, we send it the pipe block positions. If memory serves, it actually expects only the insertion connections, but this is sending all of the block positions. Yeah, that's what it's expecting. Rebuild push connection. It's sending in every single position. So hard to resist. Pipe block position. So the chunk with the extraction node is loading, right? The chunk with the insert node is not loaded yet. But I'm sending all of the positions. And it's probably hitting this value. So let me F9 this. And as this network is loaded in, as the chunk is loaded, because it starts before you ever see anything. Okay. Pipe network. We have all of these positions. 97, 98, 99, 96, 97, 98, 99, 402. There it is. So it's hitting null, and then it's just continuing. Because we tried to load a block position that is not loaded yet. Right? So I don't know. I don't know how to initialize the tail is just going a mile a minute. What's going on down there? Right? So it hit. This chunk is loaded, right? And it's iterating through all the block positions. It's doing one after another, and then bam, it's hitting one that's not loaded, and it's just continuing. And then the next one is not loaded, then it continues, not loaded, and then it continues. And so this does not see any push connections because of how the network is loaded, right? And so what I need to do, and I have to be careful here because, again, there could be instances when something is not loaded. So how do I do this? What is the best? I'm open to suggestions, everybody. If y'all have a good idea about how to tackle this, I'm all ears, and a little bit of a nose and a lot of coffee. I have been properly cat-haired. You should see my shirt. It is tough. Okay, what I can do is let's try to do a cheeky little thing. Private bool is fully loaded equals false. Well, yeah, okay. So in here, if this is true, is fully loaded equals false. Okay. Now, basically, this mechanical network, test fully loaded, right? This is used by the power mod for test fully loaded, which is setting this value, right? Which is read by on server game tick. If it's fully loaded, it will only tick the mechanical network if it's fully loaded, right? If any part of a network is not loaded, it will not tick that network. How's that? That, I think, is the easy way out in this particular bug. Vintage and this fascinated heavy. Interesting. Vintage Engineering is a mod for Vintage Story, inspired by mainly immersive engineering, but it will also include elements of immersive petroleum, as well as possible elements way down the road of mechanism. Like the mechanism like the nuclear setup for mechanism, that's going to be down the road. That's planned for that. But I mean, it's playable now. You can download it. We're just bug hunting today. So but yeah, it's a tech mod, a late game tech mod for Vintage Story. A lot of the LV tier is in. I've got 2 more machines to do for the LV tier, and then the LV tier will be essentially done. I mean, the whole point of the pipe and this feature again, everybody, the pipe feature is inspired by the Pipes network or the pipe mod for Minecraft. So Pipes with a Z, where you don't need every single pipe loaded into memory to have it work. You need the extraction node. That the extraction node is the thing that ticks, right? So if the extraction node isn't loaded, then there's no issue, right? Because that's the thing that ticks. The insertion nodes also need to be loaded because whatever they're connecting to, whatever they're pointing to, needs to be loaded. And granted, there could be an edge case where the node is loaded, but the actual machine isn't. And I think I have a couple checks in there for that. I can double check, but the whole point is the pipe system itself doesn't necessarily need everything to be loaded, right? It'll try to tick whatever it can. Whatever is actually loaded, it'll tick. Now, I do have tentative plans of adding a chunk loader. I do know how to do that. But it's going to require a constant supply of power, which at this point we're only able to do power with the LV generator, which is basically a Stirling. It's tantamount to a Stirling generator. It's just heat. Heat makes power, and not very much. And the chunk loader would require, a pretty good amount of power. Will this mod? The mod is built. Yes, the mod is an API. I've got API functions in here. I've got API functions in here. I've got base classes in here for my electrical system. It's all very expandable. You can plug your machine right into my electrical system. You can fully support the pipe system very, very easily. Yeah, it's all very extendable and expandable. And even my wiring system. I made a custom catenary wiring system, right? So there's a bunch of wiring stuff to manage moving, like stretching wire between points and stuff. So it's all very expandable. That was about 8 months of work, by the way. The wiring system. The closest insertion node on the extraction node. You can just refer to that on the load. Well, it doesn't really know when it's iterating through the block positions. It doesn't know which one has an insertion node. It doesn't really care because it passes in. Yeah, this expects it to have an insertion, an array, but it's not required because I already checked that here. So for every block position that's sent in, I check all 6 sides for an insertion side, and if there is one, then I add it. Right? Then I add it. But if there's not, I just skip it. But if it's not loaded, right? If it's not loaded, it skips it completely, which is understandable because it's not loaded. Now, I don't know how to load it manually. That's code I haven't been familiar with. What I could do is Hmm. Hmm. Let's remove this. I didn't like this when I did it, so I'm gonna remove this. There is a. Okay, let's do initialize num extraction connections is greater than 0. Okay. If num insertion connections is greater than 0. So, what I need to do is a single pipe connection change. I need to use the restroom really quick. I'm gonna think on this for a second. I'll be right back. All right. Sorry about the break, everybody. Sometimes you just gotta have a break. So what I'm essentially trying to do, what I'm essentially thinking of is cat hair just everywhere. When an insertion node loads, when it initializes, and this is really a single case for this. So when it initializes, because this bug would exist as well, if you load your base, right, and everything is good, or you build the network fresh, and then you leave the area, and then you come back in a way that loads the extraction node first, and then it loads the insertion node, this bug would appear. So this bug is not unique to world load. It would happen if you left the area and came back. There is a chunk column loaded. But what I'm going for is a really like, I use the KISS methodology, if anybody knows what that is. It's keep it simple, stupid. KISS, right? So I want to tackle this without a huge amount of overhead. And only when an insert node loads, what I want to do is I want to poke at the network and say, hey, I'm loaded. Let everybody know that I'm loaded and ready to rock and roll, right? So if that insert node is already being looked at, like if it's already like part of the game, right? If it's already part of the story, then we don't need to do anything. But when it does load from the chunk, it should let all of the extraction nodes know on the network, hey, I'm ready to rock and roll, right? I'm bound and ready to insert stuff. That's why I was looking at these quick update. Wake. No, I'm not. These networks don't sleep yet. haven't implemented any of that kind of stuff. So the quick update network. Pipe connection. Alter push connections. So this pipe block positions. Okay. This might be what we need. What is the difference between these two? This is an array, and this is a single thing. So this quick update, what this is doing, and these do have references. Look at this, 6 references. There's a lot of references in here. Because it's used, like, if you're adding blocks and stuff, I needed a way to update it quick without iterating through the whole enchilada again. Like, it should be done. Pipe connection. Block position. Alter push connections. So the connection itself is the push connection. Now, I want to make sure this alter push connection, when it's getting this array, is not duplicating entries. That would be bad. So what we can do, because we're doing this in the initialization, we're getting the pipe network manager here. So Pipe Network Manager will only exist on the server. Oh, look at that. I have that right there. Only exist on the server. The server is the only thing that ticks anything. The client is just the interface for everything. That helps to eliminate cheating if you run a server. It's only the server manages anything. So if the number of insert connections are here, then this gets called alter push connections on the whole position. So the pipe connection, what we want to do is alter or quick update network. So what we can do here is pipe connection insert con equals new pipe connection. Shit. Oh. Okay. Let's do this differently. Pipe connection inserts. Let me close that. Close that. And this ultra push connections, I need to look at this as well. But for int f equals 0, f is less than 6, f plus plus, if insert, wait, don't I have? Oh, I didn't. Insert sides of f. So the num insertion connections, well, let's do this. List of these equals new. This would be much easier. List. Oh, come on now. List of these. No. God damn, I didn't want to do that. There we go. No, stop. I mean, I could do the num insert connections as the capacity. That might help limit memory. Because the num insert connections is initialized either when you place the block, right? Okay, the other problem with this is this also does this call when you place the block, right? So if I inform the network here, then I'm gonna have to remove it somewhere else because I do inform the network. When you place a new pipe, I do inform the network. So if it's doing it up here in initialize, then I don't need to do it elsewhere. And this will also cover when the thing loads into memory. So I've already determined how many insertion connections there are. Now, this, if insertion size of F, then inserts, well, let's do pipe connection dot new con equals new pipe connection this dot position block facing dot all faces of F. Int distance is 0. The distance is calculated at the call because it's different for every, it can be different for every extraction node. So this is the connection on the insertion side. And then we want to do inserts dot add new con. Okay. So this iterates through. And by the time we get out of this loop, the number of items in this list should equal this, right? The num insertion connections and the number of inserts, these should be equal. These are not equal, then that's bad. If inserts dot count does not equal num insert connections, API dot logger dot error pipe insert, do VE pipe insert count not equal to num insert connections. Right? If these two, they have to be equal. The number of insert connections and the number of inserts we actually detect through this, they should be equal, right? If they're not, then there's a problem. But it's not a catastrophic problem. It's just a problem that I need to know about, which is why we want to dump it into the log. Okay. So after we get done with this, what we want to do is do a pnm dot get network of network ID dot quick update network. No. What? Quick update network. Oh, it's the network. Yeah. Get network dot quick network update. Oh yeah, there's 3 different iterations of this. World inserts dot to array false. I don't have a world on this. I should. API.world. There we go. Okay. Remember, if PNM is null, we're not even coming in here, which is on the client. So the client, the client will not run any of this code. But this quick network update, we're passing it in all of the insertion nodes to say, hey, basically wake up, we're adding ourselves, which should run this, alter push connections, which we're, again, passing in basically the connections. Now we want to make sure that we're doing the right thing up here, because I don't want this. Oh, did this just alter push connections? Okay. Cons not equal no, pawns Alex is equal 0, push connections equals no. Okay. Coming in here, alter push connections, and the network is doing quick network update. So this is basically iterating through all of the pipe block positions of the network, and then calling this alter push connections. Okay. So if extraction nodes, blah blah blah. Is sleeping. So yeah, what I have to do, the is sleeping here, I have to put the node to sleep, and that's why. In round robin node, when if you're set up in round if you're set up in round robin mode, how that actually works is I use an enumerator to iterate through all the items, and the enumerator is basically saved in memory, and so the next time it comes by, the enumerator is moved right to the next version, or the next one in the array, the next insert node, and then processed, and then iterated again, and then iterated again. So if you alter that number of nodes, the insertion nodes, if you alter that while it's trying to up or insert, the enumerator is invalidated completely, and it does not like that. So the extraction node I put to sleep, right? I put the extraction node to sleep if it exists. That way it doesn't tick. And then I'm able to alter the list, right? And then wake everything back up again after reinitializing the enumerator, right? Reset enumerator. So this should be a really simple thing. Extraction node is not equal no. Extraction node is sleeping. Pipe connection is not pipe dot copy. Blah 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 blah. If is remove it. If it doesn't contain it. So I just wanted to validate push connections that contains. I just wanted to validate to make sure I'm not duplicating it. But I have to check the distance first, right? I have to check the distance, which is why I have to recalculate it up here, because it's different for every block position. That Manhattan distance will be different. So I need to recalculate that in order to actually look at the contains. And then I have the push connection itself. This I need to have as the equatable. So it knows what to actually compare when I'm checking for equality. Does it contain this? So add that connection if it doesn't exist, and then iterate back through each of the extraction nodes, just like I did up here, and then reset the enumerator. Now, the enumerator is not used if you're not in round robin mode. But adding like what mode it's in, like a detection of which mode it's in and all of that, it's easier just to redo the enumerator. Like the enumerator is just like basically a pointer, and it's just iterating through. Like it's not complex. And it's a lot easier just to reset it
than it is to have a bunch of if statements and stuff that are going to be messy. So I think this alter push connections, now what we need to do, because we're doing that on the initialize call, let's find it again. Initialize. Number extraction connections. We're rebuilding the push connections. This is getting called before this. Now, should we... Which one of these should... Nah, I think this is fine. The rebuild push connections will be run on the extraction. That'll initialize basically anything that's loaded already for the extraction nodes. So all of the chunks of the network that are loaded already, it will be fine. It will rebuild all the connections. And then, if there's insertion nodes in the block or in the network that are added later or at any moment, this will be run. So this will also be run when it's being placed in the world brand new, because the initialize is called when you spawn the block entity, and the block entity is spawned when you place the block. And if you place the block and it detects there's a machine next to it and it's pointing at an insert and a boom, this is gonna run. So we have to make sure that we're not adding more overhead than we need. Because we're already initializing the connection, we don't need to initialize it on block placed, right? So on block broken, mark pipe dirty, whatever. Mark pipe dirty is more or less the connections. Yeah, right here is what I think we don't need. The insertion sides of F. This actually is trying to remove. Wait, this is trying to remove if true. Okay, yeah, this is removing. Okay, so this is removing. Block is not air, meaning a valid block. Connection sides. Connecting to. This here, I think, is what we might be able to get rid of. I think. Can connect to. We're able to connect. If not disconnected sides of F, meaning we're not overriding it manually, and we're not already true, if not insertion sides of F. I don't know why is this in here? If block ID was 0, that means it's error. It means we have to remove the block. But, okay, if pipe, so if it's a pipe, if it's not a pipe and we can connect to it, I don't know why this should never trigger. This should always be false coming in. Always. Because we set it to true here. Unless, of course, okay. Unless we load it in from if we load it in from memory, right? If we're loading it off of disk, then it would be true coming in here, and it would flip to false, and it wouldn't run any of this code. I'm fairly certain. But I think we can get rid of this and this. Right? Okay. So let's go back to initialize. Okay, so this, I'm just in my mind, I'm like, all right. Scenario 1, we're placing the block. We place the block. It has an insertion side. The first thing that happens, the block is placed, the entity is spawned in, bam, we initialize it. We come in here, we initialize all of our booleans and our variables. We mark pipe dirty. This goes in, and this is actually the thing that detects all the connection sides, right? But we don't initialize the insert nodes in this anymore. So we come down in here and we're like, all right, if we have any extraction nodes, which when we first place the block should not exist, right? This should not exist when we first place it, because the only way to get an extraction node is to right click an insert node with a wrench. So this should not trigger at all. We come in here, we grab the manager. If this is null, it means we're on the client. We skip everything else. We come in here, the num extraction and num insertions, these are set by this. Mark pipe dirty. So we come in here and we're like, all right, num extractions, and again, the scenario is a freshly placed block pipe. Num extraction should be 0, so it doesn't touch this. Num insertions can be greater than 0. So we come in here and we're like, all right, num insertions, again, are set in the mark pipe dirty. This says, all right, give me, if there's 5, 4, 2, whatever number of insertion connections, it creates a list of that size and it iterates through all the faces for an insertion side. If it's true, give me a connection. The pipe connection is the block position. I'm pretty sure position of the block for this block entity. Where's my help? New pipe connection. Let me pull up pipe connection. Pipe connection. Position. Block position of the block connected to. Ooh. Okay. That is a problem. Add a pipe connection object. Block position of the block it's connected to. Block position of block this connection is 2, not the position of the pipe itself. Block facing to toward the block connected to. Distance to this connection as calculated by the extraction node that contain connection. That was a potential massive bug that I just avoided. Dot add copy block facing dot all faces of F. So the position that we're passing in, right? The position that we're passing in, I wish, why is this not giving me... Maybe it just has to update itself or something. I don't know. Anyway, that would have been a bad day. Because that would have foobarred everything. So I just want to look at Mark Pipe Dirty and see what we commented out. Yeah, position.add copy. Yep. From face. Not sure where from face comes from. Probably way the hell up here somewhere. Yeah. So this is like which face we're actually iterating through. Check all 6 sides. So we're passing in the face to the position, and then we're passing in. So this is essentially what I did. So let's go back to initialize. So position.add copy, you always want to use copy. Never do add, because add, if you do add without add copy, just add, you're literally changing this. You don't want to change that because this is literally pointing to the position. You want to add copy so you get a copy of the position with the change. So as if you're having bugs in your mod and you're doing anything with block position, right? And you're not doing copy, that is why. Because anytime you're adding a variable, if you're, let's say you have a list of block positions of whatever, right? If you're not copying, if you're not making a copy of those block positions as you add them, then any change of one changes the other because they're always passed by reference because they're an object. They're a complex object. So, pipe connection, we're passing in now the block that we're connected to, right? All faces of F is basically the facing that we're looking at. And then we're also passing in the block face that we are pointing at. So if there's, let's say there's an insertion connection on the east side. So on the east, you have a pipe block, and on the east, you have a machine. So there's an insertion node. So we're passing in the position of the machine, but also then we're also passing in that east, right? There's a nub to the east. We're passing in east. Now the machine, when you look at can connect to, right? When you're looking at can connect to, I'm passing in east, but I'm also looking at when I pass it into the block, I'm saying, hey, can I connect to this block from this direction? And that is on the west side. So those kinds of things you just kind of have to do. Okay, so that solved a potentially really bad bug. So if the inserts.count is, I'm going to put a breakpoint here. Num insertion connections is greater than 0, which means this should only be called, when I debug, this should only be called on the block that has a connection to the tank. It should not come into this block of code outside of that single block, because that's the only place that there's an insert node. Okay, so I just want to go through this one last time. Num insertion connection is greater than 0. We have an insert node coming in here. Number of inserts. I'm going to put an F. I'm going to put a breakpoint here as well. So it should be 1, right? Coming in here the first time should be 1. And we're iterating through all the block faces. That's why I use F here. It's just kind of my shorthand to say this is through all the block faces, 0 through 5. If we have an insertion side, then let's get that connection, insert it, add it to the list. Coming down here, does the sanity check, and then grabs the network, and I do a quick update. Basically, this essentially is broadcasting to the network that an insert was added, right? And it's just either it could be 1, it could be 6, but it's per block, right? It's not the whole network. It's just every time a block is processed, it's doing the quick network update. And again, only the extraction nodes are updated, right? It doesn't, if a block doesn't have any extraction nodes, it doesn't even care what connections are added. It just completely skips it. So in a perfect world, when I F5 this and debug it, when we load in, it should initialize that extraction node without the insertion node when the chunk loads. When the other chunk loads with the insertion node, it should trigger this code that then updates the extraction node. So cross your fingers and your toes. For finally fixing this insidious little bug. Okay. Num insertions is 1. That's good. Insertions. Insertion side. Let's see. What do we do? All the way back to 5. That's funny. So if we have 5, this come down here. Inserts.count is 1. Num insertion connections, it matches. And then quick network update. Network ID is 152. Boo. PNM. Pipe networks. 152. Where the hell is this network at? Pipe block positions 4. Where the hell is this network at? Oh, I bet you I know. I think I've missed. I think there's one connected to the pump. That's why when I validated the networks, it actually validated that network. 152. That's just funny. So now we should be at, we're still at 152. $171. I think we're getting closer. Num inserts is 0. No. Yeah, we're at 1. Insertion sides 2. Network ID 171. Inserts .to array. And then if we just F5 this, go over here, and look at that. It's loading. Excellent. Now, if we break, does this stop? It does. Oh, thank God. Right? Thank God. Now, if we rebuild it, it should have started again. Oh, thank God. Look at that. 2 bugs fixed. I hope Zolkin is watching. Now, the other bug that I found, if we break this, shit. Yep. Get network. Why did this? This comes from pipe network manager, get network, pipe initialize. Pipe base, network ID. Where's the network ID coming from? Okay. When I place the block, where does it get the network? And connect to. One fix at a time. We broke that insertion node. Let's put a breakpoint on here. I might have to remove some breakpoints. Yeah. Where's that other network? There it is. This is the network I was talking about. I've completely forgot. Oh, Jesus. One network at a time, please. Please. Debug one of these at a time. Now, let's do this. Okay, so this is going. Now, when I remove this block, boom. So, pipe fluid block position, pipe connections, pipe insert. Number of insert connections should be 1. Network ID, grabbing that. BEP, connection sides, run to cursor. We have 1, which should be here. Pipe networks dot contains key, network ID. Pipe networks of network ID got remove pipe. So we remove. We only have 1 connections, right? So remove pipe, number of inserts is greater than 0. We remove the pipe from the network. Now we go pipe networks to network ID, quick update network. So we're going to pass in here, and we passed it the altered position. Okay. Num extractions. There it is. There's the extraction connection. Let's follow that. We're just going deeper into the rabbit hole here. Okay, altered pipe. This is the position that we're altering, and we are removing it. So F at 2. Okay, this should go in. New pipe connection. Altered.add copy. Okay. Altered.add copy is the position of the pipe block to the face. Position.Manhattan distance altered. So pipe connection distance is 6. If is remove. Push connections does not equal null. Push connection is 7. This is why, right? So this connection is calculated as 6 here, but at 7 here. So it's not removing it. Why is that Manhattan distance changed? Why is it different? Push connections is 7. So that's the one that's saved. But we're trying to remove altered, or this con here. We're trying to remove this, and the distance is 6. So the Manhattan distance looks like... Okay, I think this bug is altered dot add copy of block facing dot all faces of F. Okay. Because we're looking at the distance to the block we're connected to, not the block of the pipe. Right? So that is that bug, I believe. So if we re-add it... Oh, yeah, just... Oh, damn it. I forgot about that bug for a second. That's bug number 3 that we're going to have to tackle. Or 4, I've lost count. But this should, at the very least, solve that problem. because we have to calculate the Manhattan distance the same both when we add the connection and when we remove the connection. Oh shit, what happened here? What? Stop. What? Stop. What? Jesus. Stop. Did I just foobar? Did it save something? Where was that? That was in there was a check for network ID. Where was that? I think it was in the initial. I think it was here. Holy shit, how is my YouTube live like an hour behind? Jesus. That's weird.
Gotta love it.
Oh, Jesus. There's an os.
Oh, sorry. Thought you would have noticed I was around by now.
Well, when I have OBS open, it mutes all the audio.
Yeah. I think you had gone AFK for a bit. I figured you kind of checked the check Discord while you were up.
Why am I not picking that block up? Okay, I guess I'm not going to be able to pick that block up. That's interesting. Okie dokie, Smokey. So when I place a block on block placed, not broken, on block placed, I'm getting the block entity, marking the pipe dirty, get mod system, on pipe. So I'm getting the block entity before I'm informing the network of the thing. So what does this do? This is the problem, is it's instantiating, it's initializing the block entity, and then it's informing the network. On block placed, let's go there. This is what sets the ID, right? So, when we place the block, Mark pipe dirty. On pipe block place. So we mark the pipe dirty first. Which we do it again here, but it really doesn't hurt anything. Let's see. Mark pipe dirty. How did this not bug out bad? How did this work? And now I get a crash. Network ID. Because this is the call that's setting the network ID, I think. Pretty sure. On pipe block placed, we iterate through. We check the networks. We check the number of connections. Which number of connections? There's a difference between pipe connection and insert connection, right? Pipe connections are pipe to pipe only. So if the number of pipe connections equals 1, then update the network ID. Well, where's the network ID being set? Us.connection sides. We're iterating through. Network ID equals 0. Us.network equals them.network ID. So this here is what sets the network ID of a new pipe. Okay. Now pipe networks, the network ID, quick update network. We're adding the position. Okay, so I think what we're gonna have to do is detect inside the initialize somewhere. It's in here somewhere. This is a big file. This here, if num insert connections is greater than 0 and network ID does not equal 0. Right? Because we handle this in basically here, which goes to here, which iterates through and it literally like it does the same thing, only now when it's in here it actually has the ID, right? It actually has the ID set. So the initial, the very first block you play, or when you place a block, network ID will equal 0. So it will skip this. When it's loaded from disk, network ID will not equal 0. So it will run this. I knew I had another breakpoint in here somewhere. Okay, that stopped that. Now if we place the block, we look at this, number of pushes 1, we are good to go. So let's save and leave. Wait a couple seconds. Single player, mod test world. Network ID is cached. This should be filling. Break. Stops. Put it back. Going again. And if we break it somewhere else, it should stop. Excellent. Okay. That, I think, I mean, there may be a weird, bizarre, random edge case that I'm missing. Oh my god, look how slow it's going. Holy Jesus. This is some serious... Look how slow it's going. If I knew how to replicate the one with power, I know Zolkin showed me that there is a similar, very, very similar bug with power. But I have not yet been able to replicate it. Wow, this is... Oh, it's actually going a little faster. I mean, I can try real lifetime. Yeah, this is like... It's crazy when you edit that variable for time of day, like length of the day, like how many things that affects so many variables that really shouldn't. One of the ones that it changes that really surprised me was heating up ingots in a forge. Takes hours. Like you put ingots in there and it's like it takes hours for them to heat up. So it scales like everything that's timed in the game, it scales all of that all at once. Which it really shouldn't do. It should, yes, affect the length of the day, but there are definitely certain things that it shouldn't. Heating up an ingot in a forge should not take hours. Just because your length of day is altered. It should take the same amount of time. Like real time. This is so funny. Like, why is this taking so long? There's no reason why sleeping should take this long. You need to literally sleep through the day. Like, that's really weird how it scales everything. It should skip ahead the day just as fast as any other time scale should. I mean, look how Minecraft works. You sleep and it's like instantaneous the next day. This actually simulates the time going by. So everything in the back end is ticking. Machines are ticking. Look at that nice starry sky. Wait, did I wake? I woke up? I did wake up. Time add 4. There. Oh, I slept with this thing. I was going to see if it filled it, but okay, so before I try to debug the power system, let's kind of reset. All of the things. So let's take. Well, Angel Belt is not too bad. Let that charge up. Because I'm going to be removing all the things here.
Question in chat, but I assume that he's referring to Vintage Story, not your mod.
Pricing for different countries. I honestly have nothing to do with the base game.
Unless he's talking to your patron, maybe, but I doubt that. I think in context, it's...
Yeah, I think that's... yeah, you'd have to take that up with Tyrone. He's the guy who manages the game. So I'm assuming you're talking about the game itself. Okay, let's grab...
Said the mod looks cool.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's been a lot of work. I think the easiest thing is the log splitter. And then I'm going to grab a chest.
A closer inspiration would be immersive engineering, but yeah, he's creating a whole bunch of things all at once.
Yeah, I assume this was like an industrial. Yeah, I mean it's vintage engineering. It's very much inspired by what Oz said, immersive engineering. So, I'm just trying to clean up my inventory just a little bit. So we can test some stuff. So filter wise, like this is the pipe filter, right? You can just set up, if you want a wild card, you can select wild card and you can be like rock dash star, right? And you can add that wild card to the filter, and then it'll check that. But you kind of have to know what the code is, and the code, if you do dot .edi, right? If you do that, when you look at blocks, you can see code, right? Game : etc. Game : firewood. That's the code that it's looking at for wildcards. So every type of rock, if you look here, well, this is stone. This is sand, gravel. I guess I don't have any full rock blocks in my hand. But you can see stone granite, stone swavite, stone bauxite. So if you wanted to do wildcard stone star and add that and then save it, that will save it, right? Filters stone star is, it's just like, it is a wild card, and it will try to match everything that looks at that code. It does not look at the name of the thing, because the name is localized to whatever language you are on. So it has to use the code. So just so you know, it's, it is what it is. So that is a little feature for that. Okay, so this is the test. I guess let's remove the metal press and then put in the log splitter. And then we're going to have that.
I have another question on that when you get a chance.
Chest.
Or on vintage engineering.
Chest is give block chest dash east dash normal dash generic 4. Chest east normal generic. Oh, how did I do this? Not labeled. God damn it. Wooden chest. Give block chest east. There we go. Interesting. Put this here. Add this to here. Add the wire. Where's the wire at? There it is. There. This is kicking on. And good to go. Now, if we exit, do a little dance, get copyright strikes, get down tonight. Okay, mod test world. I don't know what you mean by into the base game progression.
Well, I assume, like wood, he's asking would it start at like iron or copper tier or whatever, but I think what I said was pretty accurate, that you start around the time of steel.
You can, there are certain elements of the mod that you can do earlier on, but the main mechanism, like the main machine stuff, is going to be iron steel based. You'll be able to dabble a little bit. If you look at the LV generator, let's do generator, right? If you look at the recipe for this, you can use, I think, brass screws. Yeah. So when it cycles like this, you can use all brass screws, any wire tool, right? So, iron, steel, and I believe those are meteoric iron. Iron, meteoric iron, and steel are the wire tools. And LV motor, machine block, tin bronze. The LV generator can technically be made in tin bronze tier, right? You need a little brass. The LV motor, very much tin bronze, but you're gonna need a little iron for the tool. And then some of the machines, the simpler ones, are there for making earlier in the game, right? So the axe head, like the log splitter, is an example of something you're basically gonna need a little bit of iron with, but for the most part, you can get away with mostly like brass and tin bronze. There's a tiny little bit of iron because of the wire cutters. And then some machines really require a lot of iron, right? And right, you like the metal press. As you get like higher levels. So there's a progression of the whole mod. LV tier, MV tier, HV tier. That's the overarching progression, and then inside of each tier is going to be a subtle progression. And some things you're going to be able to make earlier in the game, and some things you're going to absolutely going to need like steel for. Some of the higher end machines, right? So lower end machines like the CNC. I mean, the CNC at this moment is basically a clay former. Which you need iron for, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, machine block iron. So you have to have some iron. So most of the mod is rooted in iron. And there are certain things that require steel, some of the higher level stuff. I think the charger, if I look, requires, let's see, brass, copper, iron. What was it? If I look at MV motor, so the crusher, the extruder, and the sawmill, right, and the pump, these require MV motors as well as the filters. So those are the pipe filters are a steel-based craft. You have to have steel in order to craft this. I believe. Yeah, steel screws. You have to have some steel screws. Not much steel, right? Steel screws. Well, I guess you can have iron screws in this. I know that there was something in here. The pump is definitely machine block steel. Machine block steel. So if we look at the machine block steel, you can see. Well, these are things that can have it. I don't know. I just. As far as the progression of the mod right now, it's just basically like first pass, put some recipes in, and move on, right? It's not it should not be considered final by any stretch of the imagination. So just so you're aware of that. It's not final by any means. Okay. Now. Okay. Get rid of all that damn grass, because that's really annoying having all that around. Oh no, I need a wire cutters. I don't need this. Don't need that. Don't need that. Don't need... Well, that I always keep. Me. Wire cutters. Wire that. All right. That's cleaned up.
It's taken a while for the modding community to take off. Sorry, Buggy.
I'm going to be able to hunt wolves as I make heavy machinery. Well, you can hunt wolves all you want. Yeah. Didn't expect this, really. I mean, the modding community, I think we surpassed 1,200 mods now. I myself have 13 mods. 13, no, 4. I think Vintage Engineering is my 14th mod. Been modding this game now for like 3 years. And yeah, as this mod gets closer to being done, it'll be by far the biggest mod in the game, because I'm basically taking over QP Tech. Quentin is not really enthusiastic about continuing that mod because it's the code base in it is really, really bad, and it would be more work to try to refactor the back end of that mod than to just basically translate all of his machines into Vintage Engineering machines and allow a server to just transition into Vintage Engineering as easily as possible. Not everything is going to be directly translatable. Unfortunately, I'm not planning on having some of the weird like outlier features that he might have added, but I'm trying to cover as many bases as I can. There's still a ways to go on that front. I've still got a lot of recipes and stuff to deal with. Oh my god, of course I missed one. Come on. Go away. There's more. There's always more. There's always more grass to throw. Okay. So this actually worked. And if we do debug, what is it? Wireframe chunk. Wait, what? Okay, I'm not in a chunk boundary. Okay. God. I wish there was a key to like, there it is. So coming over here, we are going to see if this bug revolves. Now, I think I only have one log splitter. I thought I had a couple of them. There's one. Okay. And then let's do... No, that's a fluid pipe. And a chest. The wire cutters works on the pipe because all the pipe cares about is whether or not it's a actual if it's set in the JSON as a wrench. That's what it's looking at, is just if it's a wrench. And there's many things that can be a wrench, so that's why the wire tools work on the pipes as well. Okay, so let's move this out. So this is in this chunk. This is in this chunk. Let's wire them up. Okay. Now, I want to put this in here. This is not running. What is going on here? There it is. Okay, now if we exit. Remember, we're checking chunk issues. I need to be able to rub. Ooh, where are the wires at? What? What happened to the wires? Well, that's not the bug I thought it was. Oh, man. Where'd the wires go? Oh. Now they're here. What? Okay. At the very least, at least that direction is working. It really is concerning that those wires had disappeared. It was still showing the node was connected, but the fact that those wires weren't rendering, that... I hate rendering stuff. I mean, let me just tell you that right now. I hate trying to debug rendering stuff because I am just bad at it. I'm just straight up bad at it. Alright, we're going to switch the direction of all of this. Alright, ID 112, ID 112, ID 112. Okay, so that is good there. So now, if we give you some fuel, you're pushing into there. And let's save and leave. I have a feeling the memory footprint of this game is probably pretty high right now. No, there it goes. So why, pray tell, did it not like having that? Save and leave. One more time. Yeah, what is... I'm going to check what the memory footprint of this thing is right Oh, balls. Anybody want to take a guess? Anybody? Any takers? Any takers on how much RAM this game is taking right now? Any takers? I'll wait. I'll wait for
7
any.
gig.
I'll wait for any guesses. Okay. Any guesses? I'd play Jeopardy music if it wasn't copyrighted. 14 gigs. Can somebody tell me why the hell this game at the main menu is taking 14 gigs? Tyrone, anybody? Can y'all tell me why that's taking 14 gigs? The main menu. Nothing loaded. 14 gigs. That's pretty bad. All right. One more time to see if these wires are rendering in. And if they're not, I honestly have no idea. Okay, they are being rendered in. How about these ones over here? These ones are being rendered. Okay. I don't understand what was causing what caused that problem, unless it was just a process that yeah, it's where so Zolkin, if you're out there, I have no idea. You're gonna have to give me an exact step duplicated, like this, do this, wire it this way. Like, I need a very direct thing to test for this. But with the amount of memory that this thing is using right now, I am going to finally exit, because yeah, it's we need we have exited with code 0 though, so there's no memory leak. If there was a memory leak, you would not exit with code 0, right? You would it would be some other number. And there's the catenary data, 296 bytes of catenary data. That's the wire connections that are saved to disk. I rebuild, when you load the game, I don't save the actual mesh of the wire. I just regenerate it when the game is loaded. So, yeah, so if you leave the area and there's, catenary meshes around, they will get disposed when you leave or exit, and then regenerated when you go back. The connection is saved, like point A to point B. That's all the catenary is this connection is A to B, and then it generates the wire between the two. So I guess I saw Zolgan, he showed the bug, and it looked like it was a bug, but he was doing stuff so fast, like connection and breaking connection, and I can't just see that the bug exists. I have to know how to replicate it in order to fix it, right? So anybody out there who comes across a bug in any software, and you want the bug to be fixed, unless it's already known. If it's a known bug that's replicatable, then you don't have to report it. But when you report a bug, the steps to replicate the bug would make fixing the bug infinitely easier. So just be aware of that. This is why developers, mod developers, and game developers want reproduction steps. Because unless I know how to reproduce this weird bug with the wiring, everything I've tried thus far has fixed it. Or not fixed it. Everything I've tried thus far as loading and saving the game, exiting and going back in, all of that stuff has worked. So I have not run into the bug itself, but Zolkin shows that it does exist. I don't know how to replicate it because he did so much stuff. Also, do not use creative mode when you try to test a bug. Do not use creative mode. Creative mode, let's just say I don't test at all in creative mode. Because if you're in creative mode, what's the point of having a factory automation if you can have an infinite amount of things? So yeah, and then the issue tracker in GitHub is definitely the place. I have the issue tracker linked in the ModDB. If you just go to issues, you can go to the GitHub and you can post an issue, like, and include in that like the replication steps or however much information you can possibly put in there in order for me to fix it, right? What kind of thing should I know to fix it? If you just be like, the log splitter doesn't work, that doesn't help me because I just tested it and it does work. So unless I know under what conditions it doesn't work, I can't fix it. And I can't sit there and test every iteration to try to find it because that's just time taken away from doing something. So again, if you come across a bug and you figure out how to replicate it, telling me whatever information you have in order to fix it will mean that I can fix it much better, much faster, and much more thoroughly than if I have just surface level information. So, the pipe bug I knew had to do with the crossing of chunk boundaries. It doesn't look like the wiring system has that effect because the electrical network ticker, it does a check to see if something is loaded, and if it's not, it just skips it. Right? If a machine is not loaded, it doesn't try to push power into it. It just skips it. It doesn't get rid of it off the network. The network is still intact, but the block itself is not loaded, so it just skips that block. So anyway, yeah. All right. Now, what else can I do? Any other bugs? Any other things out there? Again, today's stream was not intended for adding content because there's going to be a new public release on Friday. So I'm going to be packaging the mod up in its current state and releasing a new version on Friday to the public on the ModDB, which is going to include a whole bunch of new features and bug fixes. So I want to ensure that the new versions that go out to the public are as stable as possible, right? That's the whole point. Because if anybody's using them on their server, then it's going to be stable. But the new version is going to include, the oil. It's going to have the oil on it. It's going to have the geysers, the oil geysers. And let me load up the game here and show you the oil geysers. So I actually got working now. The oil system, because I originally tried to get it to work like 2 years ago. More than like 3 years ago. Let me take these out because it's just gonna sit there. So the oil geysers have certain spawn conditions, and mainly they really, really like deserts, right? They really, really. So I'm gonna go down to Texas T. TPWP Texas T. Oh shit. There's a bear. Okay, let's find over here. I gotta be careful now, my angel belt. is you can see there's a little geyser block here, but let me find a bigger one. WGen regen 2. Really? I guess I did like drastically reduce the chances. I'm gonna speed up a wee bit. Okay, so if you come down, oh, let me get my lantern. Where's my lantern? Where's my lantern? Thought it. Oh, you know what it is? TPWP home. TPWP base. Oh my god, what did I call it? Jesus. Test base. There it is. TPWP test base. Where's my lantern? I put it around here somewhere. There it is. TPWP XST. WGen regen 3. Not a single solitary. Okay, let's go over here. I lowered the chances of one spawning. I I shouldn't do that. Let's save and leave. Quit. Close. Close. Oh, leave that one open. This assets vintage. World Gen deposits. Crude oil well. This is generic oil that can spawn underground in sedimentary rock, right? This is just non-spout, sort of a, you know, it just will spawn an underground pool, basically. This is a different thing. This actually spawns the spouts. And this, in the desert, I want to up tries per chunk. Maybe like 0.4. But yeah, it's one radius, one thing. It's just a single block. And then the Y relative position is at the very bottom of the world, is close to the bottom as possible. And then there is a block callback, and that's the block callback is actually what generates the well. So yeah, I figured out how to do that. And this climate is just kind of like, I guess like min temp. Well, min temp needs to be high, not min rain is 0, but min temp needs to be desert-like. Okay, so let's save that change and then go back into it. Okay. So now, if we regen, you can see rainfall is very rare. But WGen regen, do 2. Any oil. Pretty please? There's one there. I want a big one. Damn it. I want a big one. Not sure. There might be a big one. Oh my, why is it always in the mountains? I need to... The big one, the pool should be much, much larger than the big one. I gotta watch my angel belt here. Even when you're not moving, if it's enabled, it will use power. So this changes, so we're still very rare. Still rare. Why is this so difficult? Gen regen 3. This is bizarre. I also haven't been able to, like, this is definitely a pool, right? Anything like circular is definitely a pool. I haven't figured out how to get the actual color of the liquid, right, on the mini-map to be dark. I wanted it to be black, but it seems like no matter what... God, stop doing that. It seems like no matter what the fluid is, it will render it like this. And it's really annoying. Because I don't want it to render like regular water. I want it to render black, right? I want it to render black, but you can see it's treating... This is an oil geyser. So let's do TPWP, and then just go north. God, I keep right clicking to drag because so many other games do that. Right. Oh, I was hoping for a big one, but I don't think that's another bug that I tried. Oh, running away. I tried to fix. I do a neighbor block update on all those blocks, and for some reason the grass doesn't disappear. So sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I have no idea what the difference is. I was hoping to show off like a big one, but they definitely wouldn't spawn in common rainfall. You would need it to be desert. And right around here, I had a bunch spawn. WGen regen 3. See, there's one. It's not a big one. There's a big one. That one mistakenly, yeah, this was generated before I changed it so they don't spawn in water. So they don't spawn in water anymore. But this is a big spout, and if we go down, you can see the bubble down here, right? Very, very reminiscent of how this worked in Buildcraft. So the oil well, right? This, you can see how many liters are remaining in that. which is also a tunable value. You can alter that. But the fluid is a pumpable thing with the regular pump, right? If we look up pump, this fluid pump here will work with the regular fluid. This thing is going to be interfaced with an actual pump jack, right? A normal like oil pump jack that you would see in an oil field. So all of this oil in here, oh, we got drifters. We got drifters swimming around. All of the oil in here, we're going to be, you're going to be able to get to with the regular, with the regular oil or fluid pump to try to drain as much out. And then you're going to want to build, eventually you're going to build like a derrick over the top of that hole, and that will place your pipe. And that pipe, once placed, will hit that crude oil vein, that well source. You'll deconstruct the derrick and then build the pump jack in a certain way over it, and that is what will basically drain that block out. But if I regenerate wgen regen 3, this will go away. Yeah. Because I detect if there's water. If there's water, it just doesn't do it. And that didn't regen. There we go. So that is the oil setup. So that is going to be part of the new one, and I'm going to depreciate going forward. The crude oil mod itself. So the crude oil mod that I have, it's just a standalone mod. It's just that I'm just not going to update it anymore because Vintage Engineering not only is going to have it be better with the spouts and all of that, but also a way to actually use it. So I put out the mod, years ago thinking other people might want to use it, but nobody really did. So yeah, Vintage Engineering is going to include the same sort of feature. So what I would like to do, and all the values are tunable, right? They're all tunable with JSON patches. So if you want to create, like, if you have a server, and you're like, I want to rebalance some of this stuff, you can create JSON patches for the mod, for my mod, right? Vintage Engineering. You can create JSON patches that change any of these values, including the machines, any of the recipes. Like, you can customize the mod however much you want with a JSON patch, and then you can release that, like, all of the collection of all the patches as a mod, and then make Vintage Engineering a dependency of that mod. So that way it loads Vintage Engineering first and then loads your patch mod. That's what the dependency tag is in your mod info, is it'll load that first and then your mod, because it knows that that's the order of events. I want to really make sure these are actually generating. So anyway, I pondered whether or not to have the block have a variety, like dash large, like that. But in the block callback, I can detect the climate it is in. Like, I can detect all that stuff already, so I didn't feel a need to do that. But it would be nice to actually force it to be large, but it is what it is. But anyway, yeah, all of this stuff can be tuned and tweaked. You can change it, you can edit it, you can, do whatever. Tries per chunk, you could even set it to 0, right? It doesn't really matter. And that includes everything. All of my machines can be tuned however you want. Right? So The LV generator, if you look, all of the electrical stuff is in the behaviors. It's the entity behavior electric. There's your max power per second. And then the wire node, this is the actual, like when you're holding wire in your hand and there's a little selection box for the little node you're connecting to, this is what defines that. This is the little box you're connecting to. So the wire node, this is the catenary mod stuff. This is the electrical mod stuff. And then there's other things that other machines have, other custom tags that you can change. What's a good example? I don't know if there's a good example out there. The pump has some. So the pump is a pretty late. It's the early LV tear. Like, it's an expensive block. It is by far the most expensive to run in terms of power, because it's intended to be used sparingly in the early game for pumping liquids, and then more in the mid to late game for pumping a lot of liquids. So it chews through a tremendous amount of power. And there's still a little bit more work to do with the pump. Where I could add in here in the attributes, like a blacklist, like an infinite blacklist like an array of fluids to blacklist in terms of like infinite, what to consider infinite. Because similarly to another mod, if there's over 10,000 blocks of a source in the fluid you put in, it considers it infinite. But I want to ensure that it doesn't do that with oil. And right now there's a hard-coded radius that it looks in at 32. So it'll only look 32 blocks in every direction around it for fluids. And it'll spider through the fluids. It does that on a separate thread, so you're not bogging down the game when you place one. But anyway, that is probably going to do the stream today, everybody. It's a shorter stream. We fixed 2, really, maybe even 3, really nasty chunk loading bugs, I think. We did a good job. And I hope everybody maybe learned a little bit of something. But otherwise, yeah, look for a new updated community version on Friday after I get everything. I do a little bit more testing just to make sure I didn't break something horrible. And then I put out a new version on Fridays. And this Friday is going to be a new public version. So, plus I got to kind of summarize all the changes in the last month that I made to it. But yeah, 1.20 of the game is right around the corner. I haven't updated yet because it's still in pre-release. Very, very early yet. But yeah, when that becomes more stable, then I'll update all the things. So, but also on on Friday, not only will this mod get a new public update, but also the Angel Belt mod. And I'll have 2 different versions of the Angel Belt mod. And the update will be the Angel Belt mod that's normal, like what it is now, right? You can just use it no matter what. And then a version of it, the same mod, with the JSON attributes preset for requiring a charger. Because not everybody's going to have Vintage Engineering who has Angel Belt. So the one that requires the charger has to be separate, because it doesn't have to be separate. It's just the JSON attribute that you set for the Angel Belt that uses charge. But I'd like to have, at least in the community, either version that you can just straight up download. You don't have to edit any files. And that'll be that'll be the example mod of how do you use the charger for most base game stuff that just use durability is how that's going to be built. And there is a more in-depth API that you can use for chargeable things that use the same sort of calls as the base game electrical system. And the charger will look at both. But you need a JSON attribute in order to charge durability back up again. So anyway, it is what it is. But look for that on Friday. I thank you all for coming by. This Saturday coming up, we're going to continue our Satisfactory streams. We're going to go full blast into phase 2 and whatever we can get done in that, which probably means manufacturing, oil. We're going to be just diving headfirst into all of that stuff, as well as some advanced alien technology unlocks that are going to be fun and new that I've never tried before. So I'm looking forward to streaming on Saturday and diving into all of that. So hopefully everybody comes by for a little bit of that. And yeah, please hit that like button if you enjoyed yourself today. Subscribe if you're new to the channel, and consider being a patron or channel member and joining us on our Saturday multiplayer streams, and for getting early access to weekly builds of Vintage Engineering that I do every week. And yeah, look forward to that, and hope to see everybody back here on Saturday.